Everyone to the Tools of the Trade live stream. I'm your host, Captain Cole, and I'm joined by my co-host Trip, better known as Crypto ISO on Crypto Twitter. We got an awesome episode for you guys today, but lots to talk about, lots to get into. But before I get started, would you please do me a favor, smash that like button, make us look good for the YouTube algo. Also want to take a quick second to thank our sponsor, Phemex, one of the only non-KYC derivatives exchanges left in crypto. Click the link in the description below to get up to $6,000 in sign-up bonus. Now, the last thing I'll say before we get started here on Tools of the Trade, we are not financial advisors, and this information is for educational purposes only. Welcome to another episode of Tools of the Trade. Trip, how you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hanging out here, doing well, no complaints. Yourself?
Oh, just watching the flurry of news at the end of the day around another delayed ETF decision. They pushed it out till next year for ARK, it looks like. So crypto is really facing some headwinds between UK customers not being basically allowed to seemingly deposit or transact crypto transactions with their banks. I wouldn't say that the equity markets are any of the headwinds over in that front with our government shutdown and higher oil prices are helping risk assets as investors look forward to month end. Q4 should be interesting. We can start to talk about that and how crypto might fit into the equation.
Yeah, let's take a peek at equities. I know it's been down only for quite a bit. I'd love to get our resident macro equities guy, Trip. What's your take here?
I mean, if we're just looking at the charts like themselves, right? Like again, we've talked about how identical these are. This could be, this is the lower high because you've basically taken out this low, right? So just market structure standpoint, it's the same thing. So now it's like, okay, are we going to come retest the 200-day moving average at 42.18 and this 13 kind of 7 zone on NQ, which we've been above since March? Seems feasible. I think it's interesting if you're a TD trader, this is your TD setup trend line that basically forms here. So price has come back into it. It matches up more on NQ, which is a larger move down.
Yep.
So is there a near-term kind of bounce potential if this prints a 9 and then you're going to get a green 1 on the next day? Maybe. I mean, it's September 26th. This is this is basically month end. And the dollar is actually on a 9 sell today, which you can look at. And, we talked about this last stream. And this has basically been up since, mid-July. We can kind of said this was our breakout. Like, do you get a retest? It's now marching up towards this 107, 0.5 level. But we do have potential exhaustion strictly based on TD. We're at the top of the bands here. Is that going to... I don't love this with the 9, but you can't ignore this. Is that going to provide some relief maybe in the next couple of days for equities? I don't know. It's too hard to tell, but those are the things that I'm watching kind of in the macro land, and maybe it comes on the heels of some positive news around our government maybe agreeing on something for once, or
the shutdown, right?
Yeah, and I think there's been it's shut down. I think the government shut down 14 times since 1981, but most of them are pretty short. I think people are pretty worried about this one in particular, just because maybe I read that it was negative implications for the U.S. government's AAA credit rating. Obviously, the political landscape here is just kind of a mess, so shows weakness. I mean, we're in a very interesting time right now, so I could see how it could instill a lot more fear than maybe other ones in the past, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully they come to a solution and doesn't kind of put everyone in our country at the midst of a couple people not agreeing on something.
The usual culprits, right?
Yeah. And so oil prices are, sitting at $90. I think psychological numbers around the kind of that $100 WTI, like Brent was getting up there. That stuff came largely on a supply based move in terms of OPEC. So it's like, what's the question of demand for that? And, is the supply cuts driving price up going to be like sustainable, right? So getting a reversal in that could also be interesting on the equity front. So that's kind of my synopsis of the overall
Cool.
market
So let
outside
me
of crypto.
take a quick sec to talk about the DXY, just from, you mentioned the TD9 that's here. We talked about this a bunch of times. Ichimoku breakout, clear as day, trending up. We kind of swept this high here, and now I'm looking at this high at 108. Now the interesting thing is, you talk about the TD9. Are we going to first pull back to this Tenkin, right? So it's going to be around the 104 mark, maybe 105 once this moves up. But point being is, when I look at this on a higher time frame, weekly level, the weekly Kijun is still at 107, right? So this is completely flat for at least till mid-November, and then starts to trend down. So in my mind, still mean reversion is at 107. Yes, we have a TD9 on the daily, and we are at cloud resistance here. But I would not be surprised to see us kind of tap this before we get an actual pullback of some sort, right? This has been up only since July, right? How many weeks now? Almost 12 weeks, whatever the case is. Risk off for me is until this gets tapped and I see the reaction here. But that's DXY, at least in the high time frame view. Let's kind of pivot over to Bitcoin, because I know that's what everyone usually cares about. Last week we talked about this edge to edge potential setup closing in the cloud. We had our weekly open dump yesterday, going into the liquidity pocket we mentioned, 26.1, went down to 26. Now here's the issue I have with everyone talking about, the edge to edge setup to 42K. Are we going to moon and go bull? Yes, you have your TK crossover. Yes, you closed in the cloud. You're still in it technically, but if you'll notice a few things. First is, assuming price stays around here or doesn't get higher than 27, 28K in this week, in my opinion, the next candle is going to open up outside the cloud, which then invalidates the setup. Next thing is the Chiku span. So again, guys, this is the current price plotted back 30 periods, and you compare that to where the price was 30 periods ago. So, back in March, price was at 22K, had that wick down to 19.6. Now we're sitting at 26K. So yes, we're above price, but if you'll notice next week, we're going to be inside this giant candle that pumped up to 28.3K. So that's why I say, unless we have some sort of good news and pump above 28K by Sunday, I think we're going to start, downtrend continuation to at least tag this 23.6 level and see what happens from there. But where are you seeing on the high time frames, Trip, for BTC? And then we can kind of get granular and talk about liquidity.
Yeah, I mean, let me just pull up my BTC charts or switch the tab here. It's kind of been a similar story of, we've remained below the 200-day moving average, which has been pretty bearish. You had your retest here, you have a diagonal here that we couldn't break above, but we still didn't make it up there. So now it's been about 40 days below the 200-day moving average. So that's not even remotely bullish, right? When you break down from that stuff and your 50 is starting to trend like this, this is something that takes time to actually repair. Can something crazy happen and we rip above it and come up here? Sure. I don't know what it would be given kind of what we've seen in the news front. Liquidity wise, we're not building up a ton of shorts right here if we're just looking at our deltas, and we can kind of go look at the liquidity pockets themselves. But let's just turn this on a weekly too. We're below the 200 week, right? That's if we look at how that looks, not great. It's not great, right? I think you need to get back above, to your point, 28, right? Reclaim the 200 week to maybe get another move. But I mean, we've seen that happen, and now it's are you going to get a third one? I don't know. That could require momentum. So now, your next level down here is what, 24.5, which is essentially retesting these highs. But we've gotten pretty close here a couple times. So it's getting a little long in the tooth around that area.
Consolidation or above support, right? Essentially.
Yeah, so we can look at a 3-day. We can draw a diagonal here and say like, all right, if price was to come down here, where's that? 24.6. I mean,
Yep.
look, this range can take a while. Like you could get defense here a while, but price not really moving fast out of this zone, like which is clearly like a demand zone that we're retesting, starts to get a little scary because when you start to break this, you're then like the market structure aspect of things is looking even uglier, right? So
Yep.
I'm not like super bullish right now, but if I look at like last week, is price that much different than it was? And that's like just in terms of volatility, like there isn't a lot. The biggest move in this area has been about 10%, right? So here's your range. And I guess this is your range low, right? This was your deviation. These are two of these. So
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4. You start coming down here, could get pretty ugly. These buyers might not want to step in anymore. And then are you going to get the 23.6 zone that we've been talking about? And you'd sweep this low. But like high time frame, that doesn't make the chart look any better because you've now made lower lows. You would just be trying to catch a bounce like back up to like here or
Underside of 25, whatever. Yeah.
Right? It's the same as this. So
talk about like the last week's price action, right? Like all that entire move from that deviation back up to what 27.4 was basically Michael Saylor T-whopping, right?
Yeah,
there was a bid to be had. I think some other people might be using that as exit liquidity. Michael Saylor always seems to buy local tops or T-whop local tops. Will he inevitably be in profit? Remains to be seen. But yeah, market going up because of him. Not a great sign.
It's never been a good sign. And then if we switch over just to like look at our liquidity, 271 to 269, like
pretty even.
What am I going to do here? And look at all these longs.
Yeah, that's a lot of green.
Yes, this is a red delta, but like in the grand scheme of things, it's not even $1 billion in shorts on BTC. So it's like, well, where, like, to have any sort of high conviction level of a move up or down from here is a coin flip to me. So I was trying to be more bullish on ETH because of a TD9 weekly, but like that was like Thursday. I was like, yeah, long ETH like becomes an element of time. Price is the same thing as it was midweek, right? So it's like you can take some shots, but like I don't know, if you don't get an impulse off like certain levels, then it's kind of like just wait and see, right? Because we're in a 40-day range, basically, you call it that. So don't fade the expansion, whether it's up or down, because we've seen that in the past, and we can look at like some of the higher time frame actual liquidity pockets and the heat maps for BTC, because these have been somewhat of my guiding light, or at least trying to understand where price can go. So if we look at the 12-hour on BTC, well, let's zoom here for people so they can see it. It's like, all right, here are your kind of like near-term liquidity bands. I'm going to move these over. So it's like we're sitting here. So here like 26.375, 26.4, right? Price goes up here, potential short, because then you basically need a lot of momentum to run it up to 26.7.
Yep.
Price comes down into here, 25.975. You have a small gap, but then it's probably looking like it's going to go to 25.7, which I think that's a level that we talked about. And then here's your lower band, which is like that, almost getting into the 24s, and your upper band being 27s.
So before you go on to the next liquidity map, let's take a quick sec to dissect this 12-hour one, right? So we just looked at the areas being 26.4 and 25.7 approximately. So I was looking at this last night. If you guys remember, last week's Monday low was, I believe, 382. So basically 26.4. And then, okay, so let me start with that, right? So we had this Monday low that never got swept, and it got swept here, broke below it, and then yesterday we came up to retest it. got rejected and put in the Monday high, right above here. What is that? 26.4. So yeah, that 26.4 area is right now from, support to resistance. And then if I kind of zoom back a little bit and talk about this range, so we know that this 26.4 level was important last week, but also if we zoom out, we'll notice that this kind of capped the range high as well previously. So 26.4 is an area to defend for bears or bulls to reclaim. So you're saying a potential short opportunity. So again, this is the Monday high, guys, at 26.440, and that previous Monday low was 26.380. So if we were to get a push up into that area, potentially sweep the Monday high, come back, this right here at 26.380, 26.4 on a sweep of a Monday high potentially, that would be a potential short trigger. And then we're talking about targets. You just mentioned that 25.7 liquidity pocket. And when I treat this as a range, basically, let's just say this is the range low that kind of traded in it, or sorry, right here, 25.3. And then that's basically mid-range. So, you're back inside this giant range we are. To come back down to this 25.7 level kind of goes in line with what you were just saying about the liquidity pocket. So I'll be curious to see if we get a push up, fade above here, or if it's able to reclaim it potentially, reclaim this 26.4 level, and then do something here. Then maybe you're targeting this to play higher to sweep some of these highs and get up to the supply up there. But yeah, that's kind of the low time frame hourly BTC analysis based on the liquidity map that Trip just shared on the 12-hour. Let's run it back to the higher time frames.
Yeah, the hard thing about me seeing the squeeze is like there's not that many shorts to squeeze, but it's also maybe a component of participation, like how many people are left trading. So if we look at our 7-day, we can see that like this is where like you'll get these moves up into the 26.7, and then like you're really not hitting the true liquidity until like this zone up here, which goes all the way to 27.6, right? So this is a tricky one for me because like shorting into this, where we just talked about, what was Monday's high?
26.440.
Yeah, I mean, you start hitting a gap here, but like, what's more attractive?
It could slip higher, right? So that's why like you would wait for a rejection and maybe a underside retest versus just blindly shorting, the sweep of the Monday high.
Right. Which is like what people tend to do a lot. 25.6 though, that liquidity pocket you just talked about, like, is price more likely to come here first is the question. And then are you going to start to hit this lower just straight through here? This is a rather big gap to get to 24s. So
yes,
to your point, and like what kind of has been the whole game is like playing the Monday range, but understanding that like it can squeeze a lot higher based on the 7-day liquidity here. I don't know if you have the actual, and we'll look at the monthly too, but I don't know if you have like the actual liquidation levels to see like on a lower granular basis to see like where some of the big bubbles are.
Big licks. Let's take a peek.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like the monthly is sure, like this is what everyone wanted, right? The 28.3 all up here, like 27.6 is up there. But man, do you have a lot below, like to 24.8 and all the way down to 23.3.
So interestingly enough, the liquidity profile doesn't really show like this is the second most granular. There's really not that many bubbles underneath. These are all very small, 50, 60 mil liquidity pockets. So that just goes to show how little participation is. The bigger bubbles are above us at 26.6, 26.580, 26.8, and then up to 27. So yeah, in the short term, if you get up to that Monday high sweep and then you hit some of these licks and come back under, maybe that's a short. But again, it could just sweep this and then go all the way up for 27.4, like the higher time frame one you just shared. But on the downside, there's not really a lot of longs, big longs coming in. Yes, there are derivative long or retail longs coming in, on the most granular setting. But I'm not seeing a lot of big participation from the long side in this range right now.
Yeah. So it won't surprise me if it squeezes up in those like 27K area if it does get up there.
Yep.
and like goes convincingly above Monday's high, and then everyone's bullish and you've reached an exhaustion point that's noticeable on the chart and liquidity, then you
Because then you have like these, quote unquote equal highs at 26,750 ish, call it. That
yeah
could definitely get run right up into like some of this supply right here, right at 27K, like we just saw. So maybe you don't insta short this. You wait till to see what the reaction is. If it goes
yeah
up for this, comes up, and then gets back down, maybe that's where you hammer it.
yeah
Otherwise, you're just kind of taking a stab here. Maybe you have a really tight validation, you get stopped, then you have another short, couple several $100s higher. It's probably best to wait if you're not in position.
yeah. It's just every time we've squeezed pretty high, like we've been much higher notional amount on shorts, like
Yes.
in like the 8 billion to 11, not 880 million on Bitcoin.
No,
So
and that's why like you can even draw like the diagonal here, however you want to call it. Maybe there's a third drive down, one, two, third drive down to 25.7,
yeah,
25.6, that
that's
liquidity
the
pocket.
yeah, that's what I was saying before.
So
That
you get
like
this
yeah,
reclaim, and then you tag these.
yeah, which is honestly, given that the way risk looks and the dollar, that seems like a much more feasible outcome in my mind, and
Yep.
build up more short liquidity, and then maybe the pullback in the dollar comes, maybe equities bounce, maybe we don't know the news cycle, but it will give more of an opportunity to long. I think you don't have to like long the trend line exactly. Maybe look for some low time frame price action that's going to tell you something. But
Yeah, see
yeah,
the reaction from the 25.6, 25.7 liquidity, and then decide if you want to do business or not, right? Because like, I'm drawing this little three tap, whatever, comes down for the third drive, but for all we know, it just nukes right under, comes down to that, fifth touch of that range at 25.3, and it just keeps barreling down, right? So that to me is kind of my thesis. But again, this is liquidity game, so everything doesn't have to happen as quickly as we so much like it.
that is true. All right. Do you want to look at ETH?
Yeah, throw on the ETH liquidity chart, and I will throw on the reg chart. Or you can just do your ETH analysis, and we'll get in there.
Yeah, let me switch over my ETH tab. You guys see the ETH tab?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not much different than Bitcoin. Kind of go over the 200-day moving average, same situation. I was looking at like the shortest amount of time these things have actually spent under the 200-day moving average for a sustained period. And I think I saw that it was ETH like 36 days or something. And that was spring of 2021. Just a little like tidbit. But like the structure of this, we swept this, right? And now, like to your point, like that's kind of been resistance. Um, One thing that I've also been watching is just like if you know where the range or the macro kind of like high is, right? Let's say that, and where the lows are, like this is the 50% retracement of the whole move, right? 1480 is the 61.8. If we look at like a similar kind of diagonal like play, if
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at try to just find some confluence around where price could bounce. Let's say you came down directly into this right here, you'd be trading 1480, which is the 61.8 of the whole entire move. Pretty attractive in my mind for a bounce. But this part of it where we'll look at the weekly, we're below the 200 week, and this was a 9 for a TD setup. I mean, if you look at the Stoke, right, this down here, like it's pretty oversold, right? So you had a 9 basically here, but it didn't do much. It like consolidated a bit.
Chopped around and then
Yeah.
finally moved. Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, if this candle though itself is pretty bullish, like structurally, and we have like a bottom Stoke. So like, can it mess around here for a bit and then fire one? yes, I'm not holding my breath. I really like to see things move off of like this, like with momentum, but I also don't ignore this, right? So now we can look at the actual ETH liquidity pockets, and you can do your analysis on ETH BTC after this. Because
Yes.
I
Yeah.
haven't
Go
looked
for it.
at
Yeah.
it.
Go for it.
We'll just get them up to speed with the near-term areas of interest, or where potentially price can go, and then we'll look at the chart how that kind of maps out. But this is all right. So so you had a big bright one, 16.
You're still on the ETH chart.
Oh,
Just want to
sorry.
switch over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the 12-hour ETH Binance liquidity heat map. So near term, we're 1580 with the potential to go down to like 1560, right? Then you're hitting a gap before you really get to this like 1530 zone, which would run some lows, if I recall. Whereas, like, is it going to push up to 1600, 1610? I haven't looked at like the Monday range on this, so maybe that strikes a chord with you if you're looking at the chart before we get into the 7-day, or is anything meaningful there on those
Say
levels?
that. Which was that last level you mentioned?
Like 1610.
No. So yeah. Oh. Okay. Actually, let's take a quick sec here. I still have those on, right? Yeah. Okay. So just from the hourly perspective, right? We have your Monday range 1560 to 1590. This 1603 level now that I drew out. This was last week's Monday low that we kind of tried to hold and then broke below, and this seems like that kind of zone is becoming resistance. So not 1610 per se, but the 1600 level in general.
Yeah, I mean,
Definitely holds some validity.
yeah, you don't necessarily have to go to 1610. That was like top
Yep.
zone. So like looking at the 7-day, like this, if you're starting to get to the 1600 though, like that's kind of taking those 27K highs, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
then you'd move into 1645, 1650. Above 1650, like there is a gap all the way up here. Now below on the 7-day, it's like coming down into this 1560, and then that's going to get you that 1530. Then there's a huge gap. So the 1530 area is a near-term exhaustion, like 7-day on the long side, in terms of like where maybe this is where you build up a lot of shorts.
Yep.
And then top side, like, I don't know, like the 1610 area, but being very cautious that it can squeeze up. But again, there's not a huge buildup of shorts on ETH or BTC, right? So it's hard for me to see it really making a big move up without taking liquidity lower.
What's that top liquidity pocket after you sweep 1700?
This
1745.
wait, this one?
Yeah. Yeah.
1745, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Take a quick sec to dissect that.
And then we'll just look at the monthly quickly while you see if there's any relevance. Yeah, I mean, again, 1480. Like this is your 61.8 on the whole move. That's the diagonal. This 14, like, I don't know, 60 to 80 with the opportunity to 1440. That's going to be like, this is a zone that would probably build up a lot of shorts that could be potential long, because you're hitting a gap way down to here. For you to push up, right, like on a monthly basis, like to get to this, there's not so much like that's going to be really pushing price up. I think that's also indicative of the deltas themselves not even being really short. Like I thought ETH was green at one point on the actual liquidation levels. Have you looked at them?
Oh, I haven't. I haven't checked.
Here, I'll pull them up. All right, let's take a look at good old ETH. Yeah, look. I don't know how you squeeze when you hit like.
Yeah.
It's just
Interesting.
180 million in longs. Like it really doesn't matter. But I mean, look at all these people longing this. This is why I think you get
if BTC falls down, ETH will go with it, right? That's the thought
1530.
process.
1530 is like probably where you would potentially see the bounce. Like, I mean, can you even short this stuff right here?
Always
What is
dangerous.
what is the price? 1586.
Yep. So
Playing
interestingly enough, the liquidity levels don't give us too much to go on because it is very choppy. But just from a little more holistic view on just ranges in general, right? So we talked about that previous Monday high at 1603. We have these kind of double top equal highs right here at 1669. And Trip mentioned that after we kind of squeeze from that 1650 level, there's a gap up to like 1700 or 1740. Sorry. So interestingly enough, this is the range we've been trading in right here. From 1700 all the way down to 1540. We came into it once, had a deviation. And now it's going to make a lot of sense to me that, you talked about BTC doing that third drive down to maybe 25.7, 25.6. So Monday low, 1562. Wouldn't be surprised if we sweep the Monday low, maybe even wick down into this 1540 level, reclaim. And then we start going for, this and this, and et cetera, et cetera. But for me right now, the bias is to the downside until BTC sees what happens with the liquidity at 25.6, 25.7. And if there's a good reaction there, I'm expecting ETH BTC to kind of have a stronger move, and I'll show that. So I posted this in the Tools of the Trade Telegram a couple of days ago. Basically, this had a TD9 buy on the 12 right after deviating below this 3-day order block, which I've just held as very important this entire time. So from 0.063, call it, to 0.06, basically, psychological level, deviate below. We came into here once, twice, had a reaction, grinded this. I think this is an SR flip waiting to happen. Wouldn't be surprised to see a 3 inside up actually close in the next day and 3 hours on this 3-day candle. I think the last time we had a 3 inside up was on the 2-day or the weekly, I believe. And that was where we had that very nice move here. Where is that? Daily. Yeah, this one right here. This was like a 3 inside up reversal. So potentially seeing something very similar forming on the 3-day. If that's the case, BTC going to 25.6, ETH being slightly more bullish, right? So I don't know what the percentage drop is from there necessarily, but that 1540 level, sweep below Monday low of 1560 is going to be interesting for scalp longs, backed up to 1600, potentially higher from there.
Yeah, and again, that'll give you more of a setup, probably with a negative delta after hitting a 7-day lick pocket where we know there's a big gap down from 1540 to 1480. And that's matching up with basically almost like, you'd be retesting a demand zone that hasn't been retested too.
It could almost be like also like 3 taps, right? If you want to say like this is the first tap, this is the second tap, and you get that third, then do you go for the range high at 1700, maybe for the liquidity above here. But ETH BTC, looking like it has a potential move. When you do get that liquidity tap at 25.6, 25.7 on BTC, and ETH does this thing, it wouldn't surprise me if BTC only goes to that 26.8 level or whatever we were just talking about. And ETH has a much more bullish move to potentially sweep some of this liquidity at 1700.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it. See if it happens, but yeah, we know where we're looking for though. That's the thing.
Yep, exactly. That's the most important thing, guys. It's finding your levels you want to do business at. Wait for them to trigger. Watch the reaction on low time frames. See if you want to get involved or not. But at least knowing where to do business is one of the first parts.
Yeah. So, how do we want to go from here? That was pretty comprehensive overview of
feel free to drop any tickers in the chat. I will start going over, I guess, the coin screener that I showed this morning. So coin screener, for those who don't know, is just a neat way for me to get a bias, depending on what my bias is for Bitcoin, what I want to be trading basically, which tickers. So this is just a very neat heat map.
Share yours so you can.
Yeah.
SLP.
SLP. Link SLP. Okay. So yeah, this is the coin screener. It just shows the percentage of global longs on Binance compared to Bitcoin. The thesis is obviously if something is being overly long compared to Bitcoin, if you have a short bias, then it's going to make sense to fade that asset, assuming it's going to have much more downside because there's more longs in that asset compared to Bitcoin. And then conversely, if you have a bullish bias in Bitcoin, you think we go up from here, you're looking for assets that are overly shorted and hoping to probably get a squeeze to push higher on beta. So one of the things I like to do is, let's pretend overly long. So let's say 75% long, 99% long, filter that out. Here, everything that's bright white and not green are assets that are 75% long or more. So first one I see here is SHIB. That's one to look for. If you have a bearish bias on BTC, this could squeeze to the downside because it's overly longed. You also have Alice, Ape, Audio, AVAX. Ooh, AVAX has been under $10, I think. CTK, Doge, Dot, ID, Near, and Reef. All right, so there's a decent amount of them. Let's see if we can filter it a little more before we break down some of these. So Sheeb and Near have over 80% in long. So those would be probably my two candidates to short for a squeeze to the downside. Then conversely, if we look at what is overly shorted in the market right now, we see that the only thing that really pops out is this. What is this? TRB. Trip, you were looking at this earlier, right, for the liquidity profile?
Yeah, because the liquidity profile. Here, I'll pull it up on the liquidation levels. But this is one that when we did the Q&A last week.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Alts, I had drawn the chart out of people think it is going to run the range high and deviate, and now it's like pushing back up, and we haven't hit the actual supply zone. But we can look at just the liquidation levels here, and then I'll pull up the chart. I haven't changed it. And yeah, today I looked at this, and here's the thing, right? This is very long, like the 824 million in longs. But on your CoinScreeter, it's telling you basically that spot is driving most of that.
Yep.
So looking at that, share this tab instead, right? Like this is what we were looking at last week. We were looking at this move above this and this high. And then we were looking at also rebounding here and potentially coming up into this supply zone, right? Because this is really where the action happened. We tried to come up here. We're now probably going to break above this, in my opinion. And so like this zone, based on like what we've seen on the delta right now, but more so on the chart, if we're looking at these fib levels of like a retrace of this high, is probably where I would start to pay attention. The issue with this is if you go to the funding on this, right? I don't know if it's a cartel coin or whatever it is. Like
that's what someone just said.
This is not something that I even want to attempt to short, and that's probably why it's gone like ballistic back up, and probably will keep going up. So you got to wait for some of this stuff to reverse, right? Where it'll show up in the coin screener, might consolidate up there. Looking at that zone, if it runs like basically, let's say if it rockets up and runs like this and trades back down, and you're noticeably losing this POB, which was 50, which would 55. Be like breaking above. Is it going to flip to the support, or was that it? Right? It's not a good idea to blindly short this because it can easily go here. So I would have to keep an eye on the funding and then the coin screener, but I could tell people trying to short this right now are going to get their faces ripped off, because you just don't do that when the funding looks like that. And we've seen
on the flip side there, right? You can also scalp it long. Like, yes, there's a lot of longs in the market based on the long lick profile, but like we just said, we have negative funding. People are saying it's a cartel coin, whatever the case is. You can play that for beta long if you were, watching BTC squeeze up or have some sort of move, playing TRB to the long side for, a scalp up to maybe that previous high from the wick from last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, That's on a 6. Maybe wait for the 9. Look at the 9 last time. Bam. So I don't know. Get a 9 in here into this funding flips. Maybe that's your short because you got the fib move back, like up into supply. I would keep an eye on those things for that one. But yeah, TRB is a popular one right now. It's just it looks too strong. I wouldn't try to short it.
Yep. Maker. Weren't you talking about this one? Yeah, I thought it potentially could be a decent short. Glad I did not short it, but this one has just been kind of up only, interestingly enough. And just from an Ichimoku perspective, like this is a very clean, healthy trend that's showing relative strength. So the person saying maker short setup, please. I don't know that it has a short setup just yet. Up 6% of the day. Is it potentially sweeping these tops and coming back down as a deviation? Well, if it came back and closed the daily below, what is this, 1370, 1360s, then maybe you'd have a short setup with invalidation above that high or whatever the case is. But blindly shorting this, I just don't see it as a good idea off first glance. But what's the liquidity saying, Trip?
I mean, there's 200 million in longs, and it looks like the TRB chart, but I don't. Is the coin screener telling me that people are overly long on this thing?
No, I think they were saying actually they're short. Where's maker?
So like, that's why that tool is so helpful because you can go look at a delta.
Yeah, it's only 26% long, so everyone's still shorting it, right? So like this is being pushed up by spot. To look for a short setup, you're with the other 75% of traders who are trying to fade this thing right now.
Yeah, it's funny. All the charts that look vertical and everyone wants to short them are the ones that just keep ripping everyone's face off.
Just how it works.
So MKR, we have the ability to look at liquidity heat maps. So let's just start with a 1 month to see like where price could actually go if there is liquidity above. I don't know. It's interesting. We actually just hit a huge one, 1390.
Yep. Oh wow.
50.
Interesting. Yeah.
So like, are you at a transition point? I don't know. It's not a good thing to guess, but like this is interesting based on you look at the 7-day, what we just saw on the delta, like the actual liquidation levels, and then look, like we hit like a really big one. Is this a spike? Did it go up to 1455?
1450, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll look at the 12-hour to see if there's anything interesting. But I guess, is the coin screeder showing any sort of transition? All right, here you go. 1466. So you would run that high.
1466. Yeah, okay. Let me see what the coin screener real quick says. What's the trend been on the last, let's say, 15 minutes? 15-minute maker. No, it's actually getting more and more short, interestingly enough. So,
yeah, I mean, this chart does not, it's just like in an uptrend right now.
Yeah, so look at this, right? When I throw in the weekly, this is a very bullish looking weekly that has a potential edge to edge the 2000, 2200, whatever the case is. This isn't a chart I'd like to blindly short, especially because you have the prerequisite for the edge to edge. You got the TK cross right here. You have Chiku span above price. You close in the cloud this week and that week. This could trend much higher for much longer before actually pulling back. So trying to blindly fade this, I feel like, is ill-advised, seeing as this looks like it's a spot-driven rally, seeing as derivatives are massively short on this while spot continues to push up.
Like what maker? I forget what it does.
Something with real-world assets. This was like the DeFi bear market bottom signal, supposedly. When this thing bottomed, then DeFi bottomed. Or that was Degen Spartan's claim, I believe it was.
Top of the 5-day cloud is 2050 from here. I don't know. You got to wait for some weakness in the chart, or maybe even look to buy a pullback on this thing.
When everyone's like itching to short something, maybe take the opposite view and try to buy a pullback versus short the breakdown.
Yeah, what's your daily Tenkin is 1287.
Yep.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just it it can be deceiving just looking at the delta on things. So,
Yep.
All right, what else?
Link. Link's been interesting, trending the past couple of days. I have a high time frame bull thesis on Link though. Where's Link? There it is.
Wow. Is Link going to
range high?
$8.80, $9?
Yeah, that's what it would appear, right?
I'll look at the liquidity on it. I haven't looked at it.
So Link, just from like a holistic high time frame standpoint, has been in this range for, let's see how long.
Long time.
Over 500 over 500 days, call it. So this is a pretty large range to be trading in. But the thing that makes me bullish about it is you had this range, you had this deviation below and reclaim, and then you retested that range low and held it. So the only logical thing to me for Link is attempting range high, 960. Whether you get just $9, you sweep 960 up until $10. $9 to $10 seems like the most logical future price action for Link, because from the higher time frames, you had the sweep below, deviation, the reclaim, retest. Range high seems next. How it gets there, no idea, but it won't happen overnight. But clearly, we've had a bullish move the last 2 weeks. So are you approaching resistance here? The supply area at 730 to 760. What's the liquidity saying here, Chip?
So we actually go look back. I realized that the look backs they have added, so you can go back pretty far. So 6 months is $9. Like this is your $9 one, right?
Yep,
Run that
range
high.
high.
I don't know. I've never actually looked at anything this far back, really. I mean, here though, like $9. Like,
Yep.
Can it go to $9 and then not break? Just continue to be this horrible range? Yeah, it can.
Yep.
So on the 1 month, though, I'm pretty sure it was like 897 or something like that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, the 1 month, you just take that. But like, this is a marching uptrend. So I haven't looked at the actual liquidation levels on Link. We can look at that. But my guess is it's probably green. We'll see how that looks. Man, this is an old coin. Yeah. Well,
2 to 1.
150 million. This is that 1 month liquidity zone. Basically, if you're running that up there.
Yep.
What do you mean? Look at this. Like, why are you you're guessing that this is a lower high off of this for now, when this looks like it could shoot up.
You'd want to see it break market structure, make a lower low from there to actually have confirmation. All right, this is starting a new downtrend. Play it back to whatever the nearest higher low is potentially.
Yeah. So that's, I don't know. I guess if you're long from lower in spot, you'd probably be looking at the $8 run, and then like that huge one around 9.5 or whatever it was. We looked at. We can look at Maker on a larger time frame, just because I didn't realize you could do that. So maybe it's going to show us closer to that level you had.
2000.
Yeah. What's like this up here? All right. So that's a 6 month that can take, it's actually not like that different. So we'll look at a 1 year. Should do this more with ETH and BTC too. Yeah. I mean, you're really starting to top out at this 1450 on these.
Check the 2 year, just because I know Maker's been down only for like 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, that is.
Yeah, see that. Yeah,
that's the why. Full.
Yep.
I guess this is the Pico top short.
2000 price. Short it back to whatever.
But I would say if you run the high right now, you might get a pullback just based on the other things. But we'll see. And it would be a pullback to long potentially. All right. What else did people have questions about?
Let's see. BCH, EPT.
BCH. Oh my God.
I'll look at BCH here. Let's see here.
We'll look at the liquidations near term. Man, this coin still exists, huh?
Somehow. I remember I had that crazy pump back in June, right?
Oh, yeah. That was like the listing on...
Oh, yeah, with LTC and whatever else.
Yeah. People are long it. That's for sure. 220, you're starting to get really tapped out. Just near term on the liquidation levels. But we'll look at the heat map because this is probably going to show us some interesting stuff from how long its history is. Start of the year. Wow. It's crazy that it went up to like
335.
Yeah. I wonder if people are waiting for a complacency shoulder on it.
That could be to like 280-ish.
Yeah, 300. Or it actually runs the high to 335. But let's look at a monthly. I don't know what the coin screener says.
Let me take a quick peek. BCH. So it is long, but it's pretty even. 52% long, 48% short. So it's nothing decisive one way or another. It's kind of in the middle. So positioning wise, Binance is pretty split.
I mean, this coin does stupid stuff. So like it could go to 228, 230, run the high, I guess. That's on a 1 month. If we look at a 7-day. I haven't actually looked at a chart of BCH, by the way.
So I'll throw that up in a sec.
Yeah, I mean, above 220, you're getting like kind of extended. That's in line with the liquidation levels. Below, though, it's like, I don't know. There's not like a ton below. It's kind of interesting. Price came up, hit a huge liquidity pocket, continues to go up. Is it trying to go up more? I haven't really looked at a chart on this or looked at BCH.
Chart wise, I don't see, this has a very tight Monday range that I think we just ran the Monday high. So if it can hold the Monday high here, this is probably going to push higher to that 220 level you were mentioning right here.
Yeah, 12
otherwise,
that's your exhaustion point.
Yeah, otherwise if you come back, the Monday low is attractive to sweep here. And then I don't know where your next support is. Probably just around 200 psychological level, I'd assume.
Yeah, you have big liquidity through 210, 208.
Yeah.
With like 217, 218 being the 12-hour band. So I don't know if it matches up with the Monday high and low, but yeah.
I don't see an actionable setup though, based just on the chart and the liquidity. Could it push up higher? Maybe, but I'd wait for the Monday high to be broken and reclaimed over before looking to long it, because it's like sitting right at it right now. You're kind of just like taking a gamble if it's going to play it one way or another.
Yeah. GMT boys.
GMT.
Sol and Tomo. All right.
Sol.
GMT. Do we have that? Wait, is that stepping?
Oh, it is stepping. You're right.
Here, hold on. There's no liquidity on this. There's never been. Actually, I remember this. So I guess let's just pull up the chart here. Let's see what we got. GMT. What do these guys need, an exit pump or something?
Yeah, it's like had a nice Monday high deviation sweep. Now it's back below the Monday high. This is kind of a clean range to play back down to the Monday low. If you had the bearish bias on BTC, this maybe isn't a bad move where, this rejection here, you get out above here, hard stop, and you're playing down to here.
Yeah, I mean, I just pulled up a 3-day chart of this. It's like shorting coins like this. This thing was
Yeah, see, that's tough.
4.15 and now it's 15 cents. Like I remember actually vividly talking about this and how the valuation
Step
argument.
to earn was supposed to be the next big thing.
Yeah, I was just looking at like when AXS topped out and what the FTV was relative to this and where price was. I think it was literally around $4. And it's been down only since then. But yeah, I don't know. It's just how much you're going to milk out of this. Low time frame stuff, sure, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Phil's saying, how about a long? I don't know. If you reclaim that Monday high and hold above it, then maybe. But it's still back below Monday high. I'd want to see it close above Monday high, sweep this. Actually, let me show you that. If I was looking from the long side of things,
is he
I'd
talking?
want
Phil, are you talking about like just like this is like a big
like a scalp.
macro bottom or like
Oh,
small form?
that's a good point. Good question.
Because this is a TD9 weekly that fired, and your stoke is like, wait, I don't know anything about this stuff. But I mean, how much lower can it go? I guess
Back to listing price.
which is 0. I mean, no one knows where this actually started.
Yeah.
But yeah, can there be a bounce ensuing on this? Be interested to see or hear why you think that. And trade back up into like a weekly tanking. I don't know. I don't even know where this would go. So yeah, you had a 9. You had a 9 on the weekly. It hasn't really fired, but this was the low was 14 cents. The close was 15. The close on this was like 15 cents. Like 15 cents.
14.75, yeah.
You're like sitting here at this zone. I'd be curious to see what the CoinGecko stats are for like how many coins.
FTV.
Well, yeah, like because I know this was a VC thing. Pretty sure. Let me step in GMT here. So it's 180 million market cap.
1 bill FTV.
Yeah, the circulating supply is 1.1, almost 1.2 billion. Total is like 5.4. So
It's a low float, 20% float.
well, there's just more supply coming onto the market. I don't know when the unlocks are and stuff, but if it was like maybe fully diluted valuation, but still is a billion. Like how many people use this? Are there stats telling me that people are still getting NFT shoes and all that fun stuff? I don't know.
highly doubt it. Yeah.
But yeah, you have a 9. That would be my conclusion. There was a weekly 9, but I don't know anything else about it. I'll talk to you on the side. Soul.
Soul, yeah. Sold and Tomo. Or Soul.
We'll look at liquidity on Soul.
So just from the chart perspective, real quick, high time frame just been bleeding down back to like this consolidation zone at 17, 16 bucks where it kind of had the first launch from. This is still a giant range to me, to be honest. So just looking at let's call this this was the previous range high. Now it's looking like range low, and then this looks like the current range high. Yeah, potentially like a long if it gets near range low again, could be from here. But if I think BTC is going lower, I assume Soul's going lower. So lower before higher. But treating this as a range does make a decent amount of sense to me right now.
Yeah, it was like this like $19 level was trying to hold and then it puked.
Was that the FTX news that they were selling or something like that, or was that earlier?
No, this was like if you're looking at the liquidation levels I'm looking at right now.
Okay.
So there's 190 million shorts on this thing right now. Like this just puked down. So is the Monday range like I don't know if you take out 1860 Like what are we looking at?
Monday low is $19. Quarterly open is 1880, where it just bottomed at. Interestingly enough.
Yeah, you got a bunch of longs coming in here. I don't know, maybe take this 19, but we can look at the liquidity maps on this one, like for higher time frame stuff. Good old soul.
Monday high. Monday high is right. Okay. $20 almost.
$20?
Oh, that's the Monday high. Yeah, 1980. Just shy of $20.
So, okay, this is the 12-hour. So that's your like you're hitting a gap after that. You're not really going above 20.
Yeah.
Near
It's also
term
monthly open.
Near term 1890, a little bit all the way down 1840. So, I mean, based on the liquidation levels, like you'd be running like pretty hot down here on shorts. We look at a 7-day, but it almost looks like someone just like puked their position.
Yeah, it's almost like a capitulation candle right into quarterly support.
Yeah, and I mean, look on the 7-day, like here, 1860. That's the. Those are like you get another leg down. You're going to build more shorts. Like that's going to start to hit the exhaustion level on the actual liquidation levels we looked at.
What was it, level 18? Yeah, okay. So I like that, actually. I'll show you why.
So maybe you get that on a puke coinciding with where those BTC and ETH levels we looked at, and maybe you go for this liquidity up here. I don't. It's a tough one, but you do hit an exhaustion point around 1860.
So ironically, there's this triple equal lows right here at 1860. So yeah, I like that a lot. If I were gonna long SOL or look to long SOL, I'd wait to see the reaction of the sweep, which I think this was also the previous weekly low at 1860. So something like that, and then maybe you're playing back to Monday low and potentially Monday high. That to me is the most attractive. To scalp short this down to this level seems ill-advised, as shorts are starting to pile in. You're playing a game of chicken. But if you get back for whatever reason and this wick doesn't get swept, you reclaim the Monday low, then it's a potential trade back up to this $20 mark. So, but I think the most attractive long, like you just said, that exhaustion point at 1860 is probably the highest probability setup to get into a scalp long from maybe 1860 to 1980, call it.
Yeah, I mean, if you take the lows and then you reclaim that, like you run the 1859s basically.
Yeah, and then wherever the wick's down, you set your invalidation to that, and then ride it back up to the Monday high, essentially.
Yeah,
I like that.
Because we know that that's 7-day, 12-hour, even monthly liquidity zone potential, and you're removing a lot of market participants on those 3 wicks. So, interesting one. Whoever asked for SOL, thanks for bringing that to our attention. What was the next?
What else? Let's see.
I think WLD, but I don't think we have that on
liquidity for wild.
Yeah, I know that that's been something that people have been watching. Just don't think it's on here. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Tomo. Someone asked about that.
Yeah, throw Tomo on. I'm actually still in my swing short on Tomo, so it's a good one to talk about. Where's Tomo? The high time frame. We're going to swing short down to these equal lows at 88 cents. Just because it rejected off the key June. Looks like just the other day it came right into the cloud right here at 133. This is just a very clear SR level. You held it so often from here, and now it's here. SR flip clear as day. Play it back down to these equal lows here at 93 cents for me. Target 88 cents. That's just a high time frame. I have not added nor changed nor taken any profit. This is the swing short that I'm holding down to lower, and that kind of coincides with my high time frame thesis on BTC. But that's just the high time frame. What is the low time frame liquidity look like, Joe?
I mean, you have some shorts, but it's only like 6 million on the actual liquidation levels 306 to 222, you're kind of just, this thing is weird. Low time frame trading.
It's just in a range, right? Basically, yeah.
Yeah, we can look at the higher time frame stuff, and these higher time frame like look backs are really going to be more useful. I don't know if they have Tomo though.
Just type in TOMO.
Yeah, this one they don't. I remember. So you're flying blind on the liquidity maps for this one. Gotta get Hyblock to
Update that one.
Yeah, they don't have that one. We'll make note of that. We'll do one more, I guess.
Yeah. What do we have? Matic.
Everyone loves Matic.
Yeah, SCXO fave.
Let's see here. Like, where is this thing even trading? Still like 55 cents or something?
Yeah, basically. 51 cents. Same shit, different day.
I know everyone wants it to go to 30 or something, like range low. Just takes a long time, I guess. That's a big drop from here also.
Yep. First they wanted the early open, now it's well below.
42 million in shorts on Matic. Extreme point was 42 million.
Coming back into that. Liquidity higher most immediately.
Yeah, I mean, you got a pretty big gap down here to get to the 50 cent and below. So, like, you could come up here theoretically and take some of them out near term. We'll look at the heat map. I haven't looked at the chart. I can't imagine the chart has done like that much.
No, it's
being a massive down.
Yeah, it's just ran both sides of the Monday range. So just to take a quick peek, Monday high we set, ran that, came below, deviated below, came down just on that last pew candle that Trip showed, swept the Monday low down to 50 cents basically. Are we going to go fill some of this gap in and maybe try higher? Potentially. But I don't necessarily have a bull thesis just because it ran the Monday low and wicked off it. It's kind of sitting at mid-range.
Could go down to 49 cents.
Yeah, I see this low. That's kind of unsafe in my opinion.
Because like there's a gap, even though it's on the liquidation levels. Like this heat map on the 12-hour is telling me that there's like a pretty big gap up to 52.3 or something like that before you start to actually hit liquidity.
Yeah, and that's where you can just get like those scam wicks, right, to kind of flesh out, stop everyone out of their shorts, and then just continue back down from there.
Yeah, that's kind of been the story of this godforsaken coin. But yeah, 49, running 49, you're going to get like exhaustion on the 7-day, and the liquidity above it's like 53 area, which has the potential to squeeze up to like 54. But this is your bright spot, like 53.
Yep.
And then the monthly can look at where the big pockets are. Wonder if there is one at 35 cents. I don't even see it. Yeah, I mean, running like 49, like, I don't know, you start to get tired here. And then above your 57 down to 55. There's a little bit at the 53, so that does make sense near term. Squeeze this and then come down. It's an older coin though, so like what do these other charts look like? I'm curious. We're getting, that's a 6 month. It's got to be a year. Let's see if there's anything. $1.20. Pipe dream. I don't know. We're getting like pretty low.
Yeah.
On the chart in terms of like how much more downside is there. If you look at like a weekly chart, what do you see?
On Matic, I just kind of this down only. I don't really see this kind of doing much moving forward. Where's I had another chart up.
Matic is a bastard child. Yeah, he is. Yeah, what a
So,
horrible chart.
I mean, this is just like, yeah, not a good looking chart. I'm sure if you plot it against BTC, just as ugly. Looks like it's going to, fall off out of this range and go down lower. So that does not bode well for Matic BTC, which does not bode well for relative strength for long on Matic BTC. This just looks like consolidation, continuation, down to these 30-cent lows. We'll see what happens there. But
Is
that's kind
there
of
do you have TD on the weekly to see like where we are?
Oh, we're on a 9, I guess. So
Yeah,
maybe
I
you
think
get
a lot
relief.
of alts are on 9s. So it's like you need to be careful being overly bearish on things that are like they can bounce for I
Yeah,
don't know
that's
what the
fair.
reason
Also,
is.
this is pretty far away from Kijun and Tenkan. I wouldn't be surprised.
Right. And did we take that low? Which was what was that?
Yeah, you took that. It was 50 cents,
Okay.
50.89. Yeah, you took that.
All right. So maybe you close the weekly above and I don't know. Or you get a sweep of into that 48 and then it's like okay, you kind of hit
Yeah.
exhaustion point, like watch it. Um not overly it's just I don't like being overly bearish on something that looks like that.
Yeah.
Like
Agreed.
so we'll see how it works out. High time frame $1. Yeah, sure. Um all right. I think that was a pretty good overview of some altcoins.
Yeah. The
We're just
last
getting
thing
around.
I will give is ETF because people keep spamming that. So this is an interesting one. Talked about it last week. Talked about it the week before. I did buy some on stream last week at 6 cents, 65 cents, or 6.5 cents. Sorry. So this is kind of looking almost like a range to me. We had this move from here. I bought again at 9.5 cents, moved up to the range high, sold off. So I kind of see two scenarios, right? So we just heard that the ETF decision for ARK and I forget who the other one was just got delayed until next year. We still have BlackRock and a few others mid-October. So this is attention economy, guys. Things that are going to move leading up to an event usually happens. I want to say like 7 to 10 days prior. So we still have probably like another week or so before the ETF stuff really starts coming out. October is kind of that month. You also have the Ethereum spot ETF or first deadline, early October. But point being, this is a range to me. I either like to see this get swept, buyback, and then range expansion, or now that you kind of have two taps of this range low, so to speak, I wouldn't be surprised maybe retest a previous all-time high 8.5 cents and then send it. So that's just my quick and dirty on ETF. This is again a narrative coin. You kind of treat it like a call option. If you think you're early to something, bet big, bet early, and then walk away, as I like to say. And this is bet big, bet ETF, and walk away. But that's kind of the ETF stuff. Trip, any thoughts on ETF? I know you did a little top buying last week, but you're finally out from water.
Yeah, but if it comes back down to 0.089, I won't.
Fair. So obviously, Trip just cursed the coin. He's saying we're going back to previous all-time high, so he can go back underwater, and then probably go up from there. So yeah, I think that's the ETF analysis on that. But we talked about a lot of interesting stuff today, guys. BTC, ETH. Looked at a bunch of alt liquidities. Talked about macro going into end of month now with the S&P potentially putting in a 9 tomorrow, DXY putting in a 9 today. It'll be interesting to see going into the end of the week, end of the month, where prices are going to be. I think short term, we're both on the same page that lower liquidity seems more attractive, Trip, right? 25.6, 25.7. And then from there, if we're going to attack those higher 26.8s, etc., or 27, it's probably going to be from a tap below. But there really isn't a lot of retail participation, guys. Even just looking at the deltas, liquidity is sparse. Some of it's on chain, some of it's back in the other. But yeah, it's definitely still a PvP market. So you got to keep that in mind when you're taking a lot of these scalps and shorts. I really haven't been trading much other than sitting in my swing shorts just because it's less is more. I'm happy to have, close to Pico top entries and just hold that shit down. But for a lot of people who aren't in position, it's kind of tough to kind of say, well, I'd like to get into swing short, but you never know if it's a top or bottom, or if you want to get into a swing long. But yeah, that's kind of my holistic view going into the end of the week. Any parting words, Trip?
No, that's a pretty good summary of it. I haven't been doing much. We just keep you up to speed with what we're thinking, but doesn't mean you need to pull the trigger on everything.
Exactly. All right, guys. Appreciate you all tuning in, and we'll see you all next week. Captain Cole signing out.
Take it easy.